Welcome back, one and all, to Scouching reports for the 2025 NHL Draft. Today we are looking at Shane Vansaghi, who is a player for the Michigan State Spartans, one of a small handful of players playing in the NCAA this season, who is going into the NHL Draft for the first time. I'm really excited about this one today. Vansaghi's an interesting one, and if you're unfamiliar, I'm Will. I watch NHL Draft prospects all year long, gather data on their performances, and essentially what we're going to do is just walk through some of the video clips that I've pulled and share some of the data findings that I've had on a given player. So Shane Vansaghi, there really isn't too much to this player that is hard to understand. He is a big, heavy forechecker with, I think, some flashes of skill and upside and some nice NHL projectability that I think is going a little bit undervalued. He is a player with a tremendous amount of size. He's a player who I think does have some areas of improvement with regards to maybe some skating ability and maybe diversifying the way he plays the offensive game. But there are moments that you can probably see while watching this video that are definitely a little bit more finesse oriented. He seems to be wired to play a little bit more of a dynamic offensive game that comes out here and there. And I think over the course of this NCAA season, you definitely saw it come out a lot more and more as time went on. He seemed a lot more comfortable at this level. And I think at the end of the day, he's shown himself to be a raw, hard, heavy power forward in the truest sense of the term. So without further ado, let's get into some of the individual clips on Shane Vansaghi and see what we can find. So we're going to start right where we obviously should start with Shane Vansaghi, and that's the physical side of the game. This is a guy who does not shy away from the physical side of the game. In my data set, he was one of, if not the most active physical players out there, and doing so at the NCAA level is not easy. So this is just one play. I don't need to stop it or mark it up or telestrate it or anything. It's just Vansaghi hard on a forecheck, hitting below the goal line, and this is the kind of thing he did all season long. Here's another one. I mean, this video is going to be pretty straightforward. I mean, look at this. Bam. Flattens a guy. Not very many guys in this year's draft, I think, reliably completed their checks in as physical a way as Vansaghi has. And on its own, I feel like this puts him relatively in the desirable category for this year's NHL draft. Just a really, really nice hit here, too. Clean, hard, heavy, got the job done. He can do the stick checking thing, too, from time to time, right? So here he is, I mean, doing the thing that's probably the right thing to do. Back check, cover the front of the net. He's shoulder checking, scanning around, comes out to the blue line and pokes a puck free that's not handled perfectly well by that Cornell player there. So there's Vansaghi doing his thing. This is another side of the defensive side of the game that I think Vansaghi also shows pretty well at. A thing that NHL scouts have told me that's really, really important to them almost unanimously is playing off of contact, reading it, anticipating pressure, and playing off of it. That's really a huge hurdle for young players to get over in the NHL. So here's Vansaghi on this retrieval in the offensive zone, and just watch how he positions his body on this to start a cycle down low and just battle down low to win those little battles and establish possession. And then the puck comes around the boards again and again. He's watching oncoming pressure, spins off of that pressure before it even gets there from Gabe Perreault, keeps it down low, and they extend the possession in the offensive zone. This is the type of systems-oriented play that I think coaches are really going to want guys like him to sit in. Like, I'm watching a team like Washington in the playoffs right now, and a guy like Vansaghi seems like the perfect Washington Capital because of this sort of simple puck touch, structured style of play that relies on keeping it simple but really effective. Even if you're not the fastest, most skilled guy in the world, as long as you can maintain possession and try to find pathways to the net and such, like Vansaghi does here, I think you're going to be fine, and I think this play highlights that pretty well. And again, here's Vansaghi on the forecheck in the offensive zone. He tries to use some skill to navigate here, and he doesn't quite get the job done, but he sticks with the puck, keeps applying pressure, and they manage to keep the puck in the offensive zone. And so for me, this is kind of what I'm looking for with a lot of players, is just this ability to stick with the play, keep hammering away at possession, and keep really putting in the work to maintain possession. There's a moment here of some skill that I think we'll see a little bit more of as this video goes on, but really I'm just trying to get across the mentality of a player like Vansaghi and how important it is to have guys like this on your team, which is, to me, it's what makes him pretty valuable in this year's draft. And it's a bit surprising to me that he has been seen as more of a maybe second round style pick at this point. I mean, this speaks for itself too, right? This is becoming a very clear pattern in this video. Just watch him on the forecheck here, right? Vansaghi does not get body positioning here. He loses this race to the loose puck, but who cares? Boom. Check. quick play, pass out in front. Doesn't go his way, but manages to establish a cycle anyway. This is just a great sequence from him, really. That forecheck, hit below the goal line, gain possession of the puck, try to make a play, stick with it, make another play, and this is the playoffs, right? Like, this is an important game, and so for him to be this reliable of a strength-oriented player, I think is very projectable. You see guys in the NHL doing this all of the time. We just finished with Cameron Schmidt, and this is a type of play that guys need to make in order to work in the NHL. And guys like Schmidt, it didn't come out very often. This is how you get around being maybe less of a fast, finesse, skilled player by just being physical and hard on the puck. Again, it doesn't matter how you do it as long as you get the job done in my books. And I mean, if you're big, that's one thing. But if you're big and you can chip and chase like this, establish positioning, create some space, you're a winner in my book. So it's not the most beautiful looking thing here, but it's a capability of his that he's able to do this and play hard and be hard on the puck and resilient that I think, again, projects quite well. More playing off of contact here from Vansaghi, right? It's not that complicated. He gets the exit pass here from 11, handles it okay, but number 3 is all over him. And what does he do? Sticks with it, gives it a little tap, gives it to his support, and he's just resisting this pressure. This is NHL style hockey to me. The way that he's playing, this confidence under pressure, this calmness under pressure, this ability to put his body between the puck and the defender and just make a play. It doesn't need to be the best play. It doesn't need to be the skilled play. Just a play. Do something. And I think this is a really good example of what makes Vansaghi so interesting to me and what makes him such an intriguing guy to have in your lineup at some point, especially while we're in the middle of the Stanley Cup playoffs right now. This one ends up a little bit embarrassing, but it doesn't matter. You see the mentality here of Vansaghi. He does fall down, so, get your licks in now. But at the point that I'm trying to make here is the work rate, and he does have a certain amount of speed coming out of the defensive zone. Obviously, he doesn't just fall down all the time in the games that he plays, but I'm trying to highlight the speed and the quickness and the ability to jump in the rush, because you might look at a guy like Vansaghi and go, oh, he's just a forechecker, he's an off-puck guy, blah, blah, blah. But more and more as the season went on, I think I saw more and more of a guy who's willing to really pressure guys, drive a lot of pressure himself up the ice, drive a lot of rushes himself, and just participate where he can. And here's another example of that, right? I would love to work on some skills training while he's really motoring up the ice, because this wasn't the only time that he kind of lost possession of the puck, just kind of fumbled it when he was really motoring up the ice. This is a guy with a really powerful skating stride. He's clearly very big and resilient, and working on puck control, I think, would be a really nice step in the right direction for him in the future. I mean, you look at this clip and tell me you can't see this guy doing this in the NHL, right? This is in college hockey, right? One hand on the stick, protects the puck. I mean, that's just excellent. Right? Obviously, 2 hands on the stick is the idiom and the cliche, but this is a kid who is strong and resilient, and this happened more and more as the year went on in my viewings. Like, he's just a guy who projects to the NHL as just a guy who can do stuff. And if you can do this over and over and over again, you'll play. Right? We just finished with Cameron Schmidt. A guy who can do this to a lot of NHL coaches will probably be the guy in the lineup in a playoff game or something over a guy like Cameron Schmidt, as they are now, right? Maybe not forever, but that just is what coaches are looking for. Puck protection, strength, calm, resilience, all those kinds of things. Here's Vansaghi again on the forecheck here. You can see number 23 right here on the entry here. Ignore my terrible drawing skills. He gets in on the offensive zone here, applies pressure immediately, and then causes a turnover. This is what I want out of a hockey team. This is how I build a hockey team. Guys like Vansaghi, they need to fill out your lineup. Aggressive, physical guys. People say I don't like size, but for me, I like players who can play hockey. And if you can play hockey and you're big, great. And this is a role that I think is very important, and I think we'll see later in the video there's more to his game than just this, but I'm a big fan of this guy. He's big, he's physical, he forechecks, he does the things you need a guy to do, which is great. This is just some good skating ability from Vansaghi, which is something I think that also helps set him apart a little bit. And I think there's a lot of headroom for him to develop as a power forward. Just this ability to protect the puck, even though he's sticking to the outside here, not really funneling the puck into the middle, he's fending off pressure really well. He's got good skating edges here. He's got some good strong turns, and he's passing the puck well here too, right? He's keeping the cycle moving. He's going to try to get himself to the net off the puck here. But really what I wanted to note is just this ability to lean into pressure, work off of contact, keep the puck protected against the boards and work his way into establishing a cycle. It's good stuff. Here we go again, right? And this is a really important part of the game that I think goes a little bit undervalued, and that's establishing possession in the offensive zone. He gets into the offensive zone here and boom, stops on a dime, gets the puck back to his defenseman. This is very anecdotal and very dumb of me to bring up, but when I play ball hockey sometimes, I get so frustrated with guys because it's always about offense, and getting the puck to the net. When in reality, stuff like this, I play defense. Maybe I'm being selfish as a defenseman, but use your points. If you can get the puck deep into the offensive zone and push defenses back into their own end, diffuse it and get back to the point, go to the net and create some traffic, and maybe you get a scoring chance, right? Like this. This is a great play for me from Vansaghi, that ability to power into the offensive zone, resist pressure, and then just bam, stop, kick back the puck to the point, and go into a shooting lane here and try for a tip, right? When I play hockey as a defenseman, it is often very, very frustrating as a point man just standing there watching nothing happen in front of you when you're wide open. The opposing team often ignores covering up high, covering defensemen in the defensive zone, so you have a lot of room to play with, so use it, you know? But good to see Vansaghi doing this. I'd like to play a game with him, I think, if I'm a defenseman. I'm going to steal a term maybe that dates myself a little bit, maybe a Gen Z, Gen Alpha term, but this is just some sick sauce here from Vansaghi on the offensive entry. Just a nice flip pass over pressure, and it almost goes in the back of the net there from number 12. So there is a little bit of this fancy stuff here too from Vansaghi, right? He's able to create separation and have some room to play with, and then, you know, threads the needle a little bit and generates a pretty nice scoring chance here. This is from early in the year, and this was a sign of what I thought was things to come with his game this year. It didn't happen much in this game, I remember, but this little move on the defensive zone exit to just get around some pressure, again, working off of pressure is super important, and he could have just dumped it out of his own end there, but the awareness to cut inside just a step or two, you know, to turn this situation into a clean defensive exit is a good trait to have. Cuts in, and now he's got a clear path, right? So smart move, little skill. Again, it's about how you apply your skill. I don't care how skilled you are. How do you use it? And for Vansaghi, this is all you need to do. One little step, one little move, and boom, they've got the puck. This is one of the plays I think I saw posted all over the internet after Vansaghi scored here because, I mean, it's just a beautiful goal. Cutting wide that way, the skill move through the defenseman. He's a big guy, but you still see sides of him like this. And, you know, that's just really beautiful skill. Again, not the most incredible looking thing in the world, right? In terms of high-end skill, whatever, but he gets the job done. Pulls it around a guy, gets to the net, puts it in. Beautiful stuff. I love to see this out of guys, especially big guys, and it makes all the difference in the world at higher levels. Again, really nifty. Just a backhand pass into the slot here, clean, tape to tape, beautiful scoring chance. There are signs of something here with Vansaghi that is more than just I go around hitting guys and throwing guys to the ice and forechecking, right? This is a guy who on possession of the puck actually has some really good moments. And I think that 2 more years in college or so, and you could have a really scary player here, I think. Maybe he won't be a first line guy, second line guy, but this is a guy in my 20s of the draft. I think he's touched the late teens for me here and there just because of the potential in his game and the floor that's there with the physicality and the energy in his game. Do I think he's got enormous upside? I don't know. Maybe not so much right now, but there's something here, and this is one of those plays that highlight that. And here's another one that highlights that. I don't know how much this was a really good off-puck read on his behalf or Penn State just passing him the puck without really looking, but that's a beautiful pass cross ice across your body like that on your strong side as a right-hand shot. That's tricky, right? I'm a right-hand shot myself, and if I'm on the left side of the ice, which sometimes as a defenseman I do, making passes like that is not the easiest thing in the world. It's a little bit awkward, and that was clean tape to tape. That's a playmaker's play. And here's another one working off of pressure, right? He just slips the puck between the skates and the stick of that defenseman, I should say. Really good timing, really good placement of that pass, and again, it's clean. It's just not handled super well, but right onto his stick, and that could have been a really good scoring chance. Just, again, there's a playmaker's side of the game to Vansaghi as well. He's not just this, like, meathead, to be a pejorative, you know. He's not just a meathead out there, right? This is a guy who I think has some finesse and some finishing ability that I think went unrewarded for long stretches of this season, but as time went on, you definitely saw more and more of it. This is just a compilation of clips where you just see good forechecking, a good approach to the game, you know, applying pressure, not really hesitating, trying to pen pucks in the offensive zone, and really just doing what you want hockey players to do, if that makes sense. So again, this one isn't super complicated, but it's not that complicated in a good way. This is also just a nice potential opportunity in the offensive zone. Lifting that stick, I mean, if he had support behind him or something, that could have been a really nice offensive zone chance for someone else, but maybe you want him to physically interact there, hit that guy, get a stick on the puck first rather than just a stick lift. But he has that awareness to find guys, stick to them, and find some way to make an impact. This is where his skill level kind of let him down a little bit, but a good pressure application in the offensive zone, a nice hit. He had an open man there for maybe a potential passing opportunity. Not a great pass back to him, but in this situation for me, we saw him do it earlier. Like, this is a pass he probably should be making right now, right? Cutting in here, he has the lane to do it. It's possible. But for me, this guy's ready for the pass, right? Even a backhand at this moment, right? A split second later, this is just a much more difficult scenario to try to work through, and it kind of let him down. So unfortunately, this didn't work out for him, and this is where I kind of would really push to make quicker decisions, especially once you cut into the middle of the ice like this. So now we're going to get into some areas of potential improvement for Vansaghi, and he is a very simple player in terms of how he plays, and I do think there's potential for more in his game down the road, but he's not perfect. And I think that the fact that he is so big and he does play a little bit heavy on his feet, he's not a bad skater, but a play like this, in the defensive zone where it requires a little bit more of a better skating ability, a little more quickness and agility, he just gets left behind here by a more quicker and dynamic looking defenseman here. So it's something to note in the NHL where you might just go, okay, maybe we work on this sort of quickness and agility in the back end of the ice in the defensive zone, and maybe there's some improvement to be made there. Just another one here where the skill level application isn't perfect, and I feel like he might need to simplify his game because a lot of the issues that I kind of had with him was this sort of puck control, more finesse side of the game. But it's not necessarily bad, but this is just indicative of a guy who there's a power forward style of play here, and sometimes protecting the puck was a bit of a hit and miss thing. Here's another one on a defensive zone exit. Like, you don't want to be turning the puck over like this on defensive exits. It's just a matter of that's just not where you want to turn the puck over because it's an easy entry for the opposing team from there. So if you can find a way, again, we saw it here and there, just pull the puck wide, drive a little bit more to the left side of the ice if he was on the exit here, or find another man, which he didn't really have necessarily, but you just don't want to be coughing up the puck. And I think this was another thing that was common with him, where it's just this puck handling and this ability to be reliable on the puck. It was a little bit hit or miss, especially outside the offensive zone. This is another one where the puck just kind of bounces right off of his stick and in a dangerous spot where now they have possession going the other way. It's not the end of the world, but if this is the kind of thing that happens time and time again, which for him at times it did, then you might have something you need to work on. But to me, this is something that's pretty easy to develop and work on. Just that soft touch finesse, smoother receptions, smoother, quicker decisions, that kind of thing. So not bad, but again, I usually just highlight these clips that are labeled bad because they are a pattern of what I would say are some areas of improvement for a player. Another thing I kind of noted about Vansaghi is his passing data was really hit or miss depending on the period or the game or whatever. And I think it's stuff like this a lot of the time where he's not necessarily just making the best reads of what's going on the ice in front of him. And so for me on this play, right, he has possession of the puck along the boards. He's got a ton of open space with two open men to deal with. He tries to make the carry out himself. And again, that's just, there's no need to turn the puck over here. It's just a matter of staying calm, making a read of the ice, and you have a pass lane here. If this guy doesn't get it, you've got a really clean lane on an exit here. You don't have much pressure from this guy, not a ton of pressure from this guy, but you just hand the puck over to the other team, right? So it's less than ideal. It's something that I would just note and go, let's maybe stay calm and make a read of the ice of what's going on and keep it simple and just connect on your simple passes. And that was something that I think came and went a little bit with him. This is another one I would highlight. We saw one clip of him being a pretty good net front presence as well, but here's one where he is in front of the net here and they have possession of the puck, and he should be there covering that guy because this defenseman is getting right out back of the net and this guy is covering the other side, and Vansaghi kind of abandons it. I don't know where he's going on this, but the puck comes right out behind him and this is just not handled perfectly, but they turn it over anyway. But just a matter of being a little bit more aware of your defensive zone coverages. If there's a man, puck's down low, your defensemen are more focused on that situation. Chip in a little bit better and things will go better for you. But it worked out for the team, so who knows? Again, sometimes simplicity is the best solution for a player, and I love Vansaghi's power and his strength and everything. It's just, if you're going to do stuff like this, I would just want it to be perfect. Get into the middle of the ice if you're going to try to power your way there. Not saying he can't do it, but this is just an example of a situation that I've seen a few times where, he loses possession of the puck a little bit, gets it back, and instead of just keeping it down low, trying to establish a cycle, trying to do a little bit too much and try to rely on his frame and his strength a little bit too much and not be strong enough on the puck. So I think as a coach, maybe you probably want to look at that and go, let's, obviously you want him to get stronger and stronger and everything, but that was a difficult situation to work your way out of, and maybe the better solution would be keep that stuff for down low and working off the boards and all of that stuff, but just keep the puck along the boards, cycle it to your line mates, and simple and effective. And that is it for Shane Vansaghi, honestly. It's a pretty quick one this time around because he is a simple in a good way player. I think Vansaghi projects quite well to the NHL. He's got strength, he's calm under pressure, he's resilient. He has some moments where I think you just need him to have a little bit more experience at this level, settle into the NCAA level of play, which he did a little bit over the season, get stronger in the gym over the next little while. Take your time developing this guy, and I think you're going to end up with a really impressive power forward in the NHL. Do I think he's going to be a super high-end performer in terms of point production? I'm not so sure about that, but this is a guy who I think is very dependable, and I think if you build on the skill level and build on that finishing ability a little bit more and give him a little bit more opportunity to produce in those situations, then maybe there could be a lot of headroom here. So he's a solid player. And I think in terms of being an NHLer, there's a road ahead. I think there's a pretty good road ahead for him. Now, if we're looking at his data set, all around, it's quite good, honestly. Really involved offensively in transition, really successful at it. Pretty well balanced in terms of passes and carries and pass receptions, but there was room for improvement on offensive carries. I think there were moments where he bobbled pucks, lost control, and that would probably need to be shored up. I would say below average defensive involvement on the rush. It's not amazing, and he was okay at it, but I think there's room for improvement there with a bit more quickness, a bit more agility, and just a bit more strength finishing those checks and relying more on your feet to defend rather than shoves with your upper body or anything, which is always going to be more effective. He wasn't wasting his shots from the perimeter. He didn't shoot the puck a whole lot, to be perfectly honest with you. He was more of an assist generator, or a shot assist generator, I should say. He was trying to get pucks into the slot. Almost a fifth of his pass attempts were directed at the slot in total. A guy who I think in terms of passing wasn't the most involved passer on the ice, and maybe that could be worked on as well, because I do think there was potential for him to simplify his game a little bit, maybe rely on his strength a little bit less, but still be a strong power forward, especially in places that really matter in the NHL. You'll notice from this data set as well, the off-puck and defensive data, his offensive zone turnover ratio was one of the best in the entire draft, and his hits per 60 were off the charts good, like really, really insane how often he was throwing himself into guys. So if that's what you're looking for, which I could see the argument for, absolutely, I could absolutely see why you would want that. This is a guy who was really involved in moving the puck up the ice, getting involved in the offensive zone, pressuring guys, hitting guys, doing the mucky stuff you need guys to do. So if this is a guy who's in the second round, you could do a lot worse, I think. And I think you're going to get something. And whoever picks this guy, again, I would not be surprised to see a team jump up and draft him pretty early in the draft, because he does have these flashes of offensive ability and these flashes of capability and these moments of really high-end skill that coincide with his powerful skating and this straight line ability that I think could be really projectable in a way. But at the very least, you're probably going to get a guy who can play down your lineup, be a penalty killer, maybe a F1 on a power play forecheck kind of thing like that, net front guy. There's potential for a player like this. And if he can maybe get the puck a little bit more, put the puck on net a little bit more, just take a little bit more oomph into his game and put a little bit more energy into his offensive game, there might be something really interesting there. But at the very least, as sort of a complementary power forward here, he's really good. And watching these clips back really remind me just how much he was a physical presence for his team, especially in the context of this draft class. So really interesting player, and I am a fan. I've been a fan of Vansaghi this whole season, and I think the growth in his game has been really impressive too. So, and that's going to be it. We're going to call it. So if you really liked the video, subscribe, like the video. It really helps us out. If you really want to help us out, you can get a subscription over at Scouching.ca, where you'll get access to all of these videos as early as they're ready. You'll get access to plenty of cool data tools like our data visualization tables, as well as data access to draft trackers and drafted prospect trackers and all kinds of other fun tables you can check out there if you want to keep track of your favorite players. So with that, we're going to call it. Thanks very much for watching. Again, check in the description for all of our sponsors and ways you can help us out, and we'll see you in the next one.